How to lose weight without losing your mind. There's a lot of science behind weight loss and how to maintain a healthy weight. But there's so much misunderstanding and confusion out there that you probably get lost. Egg is healthy, egg is not healthy. Butter is back, butter is not back. Plant-based diets, vegan diets, carnivore diets, paleo, low-carb diets. There's so much information about diet and losing weight out there that you probably get lost. And it's just about calories, just count calories, and there's nothing else besides counting calories. But biology and nutrition is not mathematics, and I will teach you and show you the science behind weight loss and how you can achieve your perfect weight and health with natural, simple lifestyle changes. Do you want to know more about fasting and how to live a healthful life, or even raw vegan recipes? Hygienic Fasting, Nature's Surgery, and the book Natural Delicacies, Cooking Without a Stove are available on Amazon, and Hygienic Fasting is actually available on print on demand, so you can receive it at your home. But I also have 8 books published, 6 online courses, retreats here in Brazil, and I attend patients online in private sessions. Unfortunately, all the other books and the online courses are still only available in Portuguese. But if you want my help as a nutritionist, or even if you want to come to a retreat in Brazil, just sign up. The contact will be on the website and in the links below. And please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button for notifications, comment, share the video. If you do all those, you are going to help the channel to grow. If we grow, you grow together, getting more vital, life-changing information and help yourself and others to make this a more healthy and better planet for all of us. Hi, I'm Dr. Corassa. I'm a clinical nutritionist from Brazil and have been living a natural hygiene lifestyle for almost 2 decades now. I was diabetic, about to do 2 surgeries. I was actually feeling that I was going to die almost 20 years ago. And then after searching for many years, going to medical doctors, going to naturopaths, going to acupuncturists, going to all kinds of natural medicine and normal, usual medicine, I found out about the health science, the natural hygiene lifestyle model that preaches health through healthful living. And then I understood that health is the norm, health is the goal, and I shouldn't be worrying about disease, but I should be worrying about living a healthy life. That is what I did almost 20 years ago. So I have been for 18 years now, I have been living on a raw food diet, a plant-based diet focused primarily on fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. But I also have been exercising daily, religiously, without one day without exercise, only on the days I'm really water fasting. Besides that, I have been getting some sunshine, interacting with nature, sleeping early, trying to focus on my health throughout lifestyle habits instead of pills, potions, remedies, or surgeries. And it worked like crazy, it worked like magic, like nothing that I ever seen throughout my life. I never thought that I could be as healthy and feel as good as I do today, because I didn't know the natural hygiene concept, that health is produced by healthful living. You just have to get these biological needs that are DNA adapted throughout evolution. That is sunshine, so good amounts of vitamin D. So sunshine as well calibrates, synchronize your circadian rhythm, influentiate your mood, etc. Exercise, it helps to fight cancer, heart disease, diabetes, overweight. It helps to fight depression, anxiety. It gets your hormones in balance. It gets your weight in balance. It gets your immune system healthier. So diet also to protect from a lot of diseases, to give you the best fuel ever, and sleep, and a lot of other factors. I could go on and on throughout many days, but today we're going to talk about weight loss, the optimal diet and lifestyle to lose weight. So the surveys, as you can see in this research in Lancet, showing that obesity almost doubled in the last 30 years, causing 3.5 millions of deaths annually throughout the world and disabling, sickening, and reducing the potential of billions of people. So this is a Greek statue from back in the days, and this would be a human statue nowadays. That is how the perspective changed, because you can see throughout the history, the arts from Greeks or Romans, they were all lean and carrying fruits, holding grapes, figs, apples, and pomegranates, and a lot of other fruits. But nowadays, we would be carrying chips or hot dogs and look like this overweight statue. So if you take a look, it's quite crazy, but the world, half of the world wants to get lean and shed some weight, and half of the world also goes through poverty and hunger. So what are the negative effects of obesity in your health and in your life? Lessen your expectancy of life. That means you live less years if you are obese. Less job opportunities, although it's not about health, but still. Problems with your bones, cancer, herniated discs, problems with your joints and ligaments, heart attacks, respiratory problems, hypertension, diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, that means high cholesterol levels, arthritis, low self-esteem, depression, social discrimination, and also limited mobility. So obesity actually affects all your systems, from your brains to your reproductive system, to your muscular system, to your hormonal system. It damages everything. But how is modern science dealing with obesity nowadays? Check this out. This is a research showing that a 2.5-year-old children was actually morbidly obese, and he was treated, instead of diet and lifestyle medicine, he was treated with a laparoscopy sleeve gastrectomy. That is a kind of bariatric surgery that actually cuts a part of your guts. Like a kid, a children, losing a part of its intestines because his parents are unwilling, and even his medical doctors are unwilling to try to change the kid's diet. It's kind of like, where are we going? Why treat the symptoms instead of removing the cause? And that's one of the focus on hygiene. We focus on the cause. And that child was not obese because of God or because of germs or because of anything. He was obese because he was obese because of his diet, his mother's diet, his mother probably not feeding him breast milk with high quality breast milk, because if his mother doesn't eat well, her breast milk was not going to be as nutritious. So there's probably a lot of lifestyle habits that he was not being well cared for, because the child cannot choose for himself. He's just 2 years of age. So I love this quote. Obesity doesn't run in your family. Nobody runs in your family. That means it's not genetics, it's lifestyle habits. So if you learn with your parents to not exercise, if you learn with your parents to eat greasy, slimy, salty, sugary, dense, caloric foods without micronutrients, you're going to eat that same crap. And if you don't sleep well, for example, go to bed early, you're not going to have a good weight control, because sleep also influences your weight control. So don't blame your genetics, blame your epigenetics. What you're doing in your daily life that is changing the expression of your genes, is changing your hormonal system, changing your metabolism, changing your microbiota, that is causing that ill health and the overweight. Like Shelton used to say, when there's no will, there's overweight. So get your mind into a good focus and perspective, and focus on living healthy so you can shed some pounds. But look at the research, what is showing that obesity causes meta-inflammation, an acute chronic inflammation that ends up disrupting the whole body physiology and its functioning. So inflammation is actually a good thing, but a chronic inflammation, an inflammation that is continuously going on if without coordination, without like normal procedures, like the one that we are driven nowadays, that we are causing nowadays in us. For example, not sleeping well enhances inflammation. Not eating well enhances inflammation. Not exercising makes you more inflamed. Not getting enough sunshine and spending time in nature gets you more inflamed. Petrochemicals and dioxins and heavy metals, all these environmental toxins causes inflammation. So stress causes inflammation. So inflammation can come from several places, and inflammation is actually one thing that is contributing to your obesity itself. So obesity turns on the immune system in excess. It's a chronic activation of the immune system, similar to infections or autoimmune diseases. So obesity causes brain inflammation, neuroinflammation as we call, hypothalamic inflammation. The adipose tissue, when gets inflamed, ends up causing insulin resistance and adipocyte enlargements. That means the fat cells in the body gets bigger. So the liver also goes through insulin resistance and steatosis. That means non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The muscle also get lipid accumulation, what we call intramucosal lipids. So fat inside the muscle cells. And the blood vessels also get atherosclerosis from excess fat. That means the hardening of the arteries and also the filling of the inside of the arteries with oxidized fats. And also the pancreatic islets. That means the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin starting to die or failure. And there's a lot of other changes like inflammatory cytokines, decrease adiponectin, that is a beneficial hormone, increases the fat in the blood, and also endotoxemia. That means toxins that come from inside. So what the research shows is that the fat cells are not just a storage deposit for the body, not just a storage of energy deposit for the body. Instead, adipocytes, the fat cells, are actually endocrine organs. That means they secrete hormones with several metabolic roles in regulating the physiology. But when they are enlarged, when they have too much fat in them, they end up causing problems and secreting the wrong kinds of hormones. How many people in the world suggest that they are addicted to chocolate? And how many people in the world suggest that they are addicted to broccoli or to strawberries? It's like natural food doesn't cause addiction, but industrialized, unhealthy, refined food does. As Alan Goldhammer suggests, our research asked women, what do they prefer, sex or chocolate? And a lot of the woman being interviewed gave a brief pause and asked, what type of chocolate are we talking about and how many pieces? So this is broccoli, it's not addictive. It's tasty, it's nutritious, but it's never addictive. So a lot of people don't understand, but there's a lot of research nowadays showing that people can get addicted to industrialized food. The refining process that we do on chips and pies and flour, that is what is driving the addiction, because these calories go too fast into the bloodstream, causing a dopamine peak, and your whole body physiology gets addicted to it. I don't know if you know Alan Goldhammer. He is the supervisor, he's the CEO, the director of True North Health Center. We have a podcast with him here in the channel, and you can click the link below or actually search on the channel to know more about it. But I like what he coins, the term SOS-free diets. That means a diet free of salt, oil, and sugar. And why salt, oil, and sugar would be bad? First of all, because they are refined. Oh, Eduardo, salt is actually natural in nature. It occurs in nature. Yeah, right. But how can you reach for so much salt without refining the seawater? Like there's no free salt over there so you can get it and throw it in your plate. So salt will be really hard to get it. And we know that salt, oil, and sugar, when added to an animal's diet, it makes the animal eats a lot more. So it's the same with human beings. We're gaining too much weight because we're throwing too much salt, oil, and sugar over our already caloric dense diets. So it ends up we eating a lot more calories than we need. So in this research in the 90s shows that rats fed in the same diet, but another group fed with a mixture of fat and sugar, they end up eating 36 times more than the animals fed with just one or the other. But you can choose to eat none of those, so why eat junk if bananas have the perfect amount of carbohydrates and avocados have the perfect amount of fats and broccoli have an excellent amount of protein, or even sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds? There is a lot of nutrients in nature that you don't need to refine the food to be able to get it. So when a human being suffers from overweight, a lot of people suggest that the cause is psychological or genetics, like his family and blah, blah, blah. But if you take a look at lab animals, the father or the mother of the rat doesn't have a fight with them and don't make them, sensitive in terms of psychology. Even though they can gain 50% of their weight in really short time, like 60 days, just by being fed with a diet high in sugar, salts, and fats, oils, right? So it's not psychological. For sure, there is psychological aspects to being overweight, but most of the aspects nowadays is the crappy food people are eating. So what you have to understand about all these is that dopamine, the pleasure hormone, is being secreted every time you eat it. And there's a reward circuitry in your brain that was programmed by nature to stimulate you to eat and to have sex. Those are two of the main commands that nature wanted a species to have. So if food was not good, nobody would eat it. If sex was not good, nobody would practice. So nature made that sex and food was so damn good that we would indulge every time we can. So quoting Nora Volk, the director of the Drug Abuse National Institute from America, think if you are creating a species, the species to do crucial things for its survival, like eating and reproducing, you would create a system that the focus is pleasure, to make that creature repeat every time those same things. So if you provide the species with dopamine, has the reward for these behaviors be automatic. It's sincerely brilliant. So she's talking about how nature is so incredibly genius to create the reward circuitry that we find in every mammal's brain. So look at this graphic. It shows the least addictive foods and the most addictive foods according to a really recent research on binge eating shows the real problem with it. It's actually what we are eating that is caused these binge eatings. It's the refining process with these industrialized foods that makes us eat a lot more than we need. So cucumber, it's 1.53. Carrots, 1.60. Brown rice, that is more calorie dense than all these other foods like beans and apple, it's 174. But ice cream, pizza, the rating was 4.1. So the higher the scale of addiction, the higher the refining, the industrialization of the food, and the higher its calorie and fat and sugar in it. So look at this table also. I think it's really good for us to understand. These foods are minimally processed foods. There are grapes, wheat berries, olives, sugar beets, brown rice, nuts and seeds. These are whole foods, right? And in the second column, there are raisins, whole grain bread, olive paste, molasses. That means grapes are already dried grapes. Raisins are actually dried grapes. Whole grain bread is already processed wheat. So it's a little bit of process, but not that much. But the highly processed column over here, the grape juice, the white flour, the olive oil, it's way more processed. So we are way more prone to binge eating when we use these in our foods or we eat these, because you're throwing away the fiber, a lot of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants. So your body, it's like an alien food. Your body doesn't know exactly what to do with it, because that food never evolved with your body, with your physiology throughout millennia. So your body knows what to do with the fiber of the plants because it has evolved for millions of years doing that. But when you take the fiber out, your body goes, whoa, what is it? And for sure, you end up gaining a lot more weight. But not just because of the fiber. Micronutrients and phytonutrients also help to reduce your weight, help to tune up your metabolism. So you remove fiber, water, nutrients, you get more calories, less satiation, and fewer nutrients. An excellent example of why not every weight loss diet is actually health promoting is the example of the Dr. Atkins, the medical doctor that wrote the most famous book on nutrition. The most sold book on nutrition was a book talking about the protein diet. That means eating a lot of meat, eggs, and animal protein, but eating only vegetables besides that. That means cutting out carbs. That means reducing fruits, reducing legumes, tubers, grains, but using a lot of meat and vegetables in your plate. But is that actually healthy? You can look at his plate showing like he was he's proud of it. Bacon, butter, and a lot of eggs. That is probably not the healthiest diet in the world according to science. And we can take a look at the second picture where Dr. Robert Atkins died around 60 years of age, and he was a cardiologist. We know that the human lifespan is around 120 years of age. So dying at 60, being a cardiologist of a heart attack, it's it's probably not the best example of health and of the protein diets, of the low carb diets that you can find. But we can take a look at articles, for example. Sudden cardiac death of an adolescent during dieting. During eating a lot of meat, during a fat diet. That means she died at 16 years of age of a heart attack after doing the low carb protein diets without medical supervision. She had a cardiorespiratory arrest while at school. During resuscitation, she had a severe hypokalemia. That means a low quantity of potassium in the blood. So what that suggests that if you do a low carb diet for a few months, then you can die. But we don't have to only use that case report in this case. We can use epidemiology, and all the recent data suggests that low carb diets increases morbidity and mortality from all causes together. That means you can have more diseases and die of any kind of diseases. That means you're going to live a shorter life with more complications. But it's not all about diets. There's a lot of factors that people are unaware of in terms of weight loss that can affect your health and can affect the weight control from your body. Everybody's talking about counting calories, but we're going to see that it's not like that. Biology and nutrition are not mathematics. Counting nutrients, it's not really worth it overall. So take a look at this article. Effects of endocrine disruptors on obesity. The famous gender bender chemicals, as American media suggested a couple decades ago when they start showing in the press, because these dioxins, the plastic that is used for my cell phone, for my clothes, for chemical products that we use on the skin, we use on the hair, the chemical products that we use to clean our dishes, all the petrochemicals and all the heavy metals, they have endocrine disruptor effects. That means these chemicals, they act like xenoestrogens, like foreign estrogens, like synthetic estrogens, like the female hormone, but in a synthetic form. And it acts like an anti-androgen hormone as well. That means it raises estrogen levels in the body and reduces testosterone, the male hormones as well. That means if it's a man, there will be a feminization effect. A man will have too much estrogen and too low testosterone. He's going to, if that's before puberty, that's on the growth stage, he's going to develop female body characteristics. And if it's for women, for example, PCOS, polyovary syndrome, that is quite common for women, it's a disease that is correlated with higher testosterone levels. So these endocrine disruptor chemicals act in different genders in different ways, but still, they are not just heterotoxins, that is toxins for the reproductive system, but they are also obesogenic. That means they promote obesity in the body. So what the research is saying is environmental toxins with hormonal activity can cause harm to the signaling pathways of the endocrine system, of the hormonal system. They are established during perinatal life. That means when you're in your mother's womb, these chemicals may be causing havoc on your hormone system and can result in really bad consequences that are not evident until later in life, until your adult life. So these new data suggest that there are differentiation of adipocytes, the specialization of fat cells, and in mechanisms involved with weight control. So this means that if your mother is exposed to these toxins, to all the petrochemicals that we use in daily life, you can have effects in your adult life that can harm your weight control, and that you can actually increase the probability of you being obese because your mother was exposed to these. But I'm not suggesting that this is the only reason, or else all of us would be obese. But this is may be contributing to our obesity crisis with metabolic changes, metabolic programming, epigenetic changes that will be going on throughout our lives, but they can only be seen in adult life, for example. So another thing that's beneficial in plant-based diets is carnitine palmitotransferase. What is that? It's like a vegetarian diet regulate for above, an enzyme that is actually able to burn fat. We don't know all the reasons for it, but this enzyme is upregulated in vegetarians. That means it's more active. So we can take a look at this EPIC Panacea study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. They did a follow-up. That means they followed these people for 5 years of thousands of people in several different countries. Any kind of meat was associated with weight gain, suggesting that the reduction of meat products of animal-based protein is actually a really good way for weight control. Even adjusting for weights because these research, they take out the confounding variables, as we call. So even when they adjusted for weight in the study, and with isocaloric diets, the people that ate more meat were heavier than the people who eat more vegetables. That means we're not talking about vegetarians or meat eaters like omnivores or carnivores. But still, even if I'm eating a lot more vegetables than you, and you're eating a lot more meat than me, but we're only counting for calories, it doesn't matter. I'm going to weigh less than you, you're going to weigh more than me. So these are several research that we're going to talk about right now about how and why calorie counting is not the be-all and end-all for weight loss. So take a look at this. They fed people 3 handfuls of peanuts for a few weeks. If you count all the calories that they put in their bodies, extra calories that they put in their bodies from peanuts, they would gain around 4 kilos. That means 10 pounds. But mathematics don't count for nutrition because there's a lot of other variables like nutrient variables, metabolic, epigenetics, microbiome. So people would gain 4 kilos, 10 pounds, but they only gain 2 pounds. What is that 2.2 pounds. What is that magic? Phytonutrients, fiber, plant foods, amino acids. There are a lot of things that help the body to burn the fat and to maintain its ideal weight in plant-based foods. So look at how cool is this. Nuts and seeds, like the fatty nature foods, right? Like avocados, nuts and seeds like Brazil nuts, cashew nuts, almonds, pecans, and sesame seeds. These are all the nuts and seeds that we're usually accustomed to eat. So they actually reduce the incidence of cardiovascular disease due to their reduction in serum lipids. That means they reduce the amount of fat in the blood. But they are really fatty foods. How do they do that? How does saturated fat increase your blood lipids like cholesterol or triglyceride? But nuts and seeds that are really, really rich in fat, they actually reduce the blood lipids. There's a lot of biological mechanisms to it, but you must need to know that nuts and seeds are helpful for your weight loss program. So there is the inverse association of weight or body mass index for people that eat more nuts. That means people who eat more nuts have a lower body weight, and a lower BMI. That means they are more healthy. So they believe one of the reasons is that nuts and seeds have a satiating effect, and they are also rich sources of fibers and proteins. If you're lost with your health program and you want to improve your health and actually eat more food and lose more weight, you can be sure that these books can actually help you. I have written 10 books on nutrition in the last 17 years following a raw food diet. And I use only science backed up research, and I also use only recipes that don't include anything that is refined. So I would highly recommend you to read Nature's Delicacy, Cooking Without a Stove. That means this book is a more fruit-based, plant-based, raw vegan recipe book where you can find cheeses, desserts, banana pancakes, and a lot of other stuff, but in a way that includes a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, mushrooms, so you get a boost on your immune system, on your health, and in your microbiome. That means you're going to lose weight and eat more of nutritious, delicious, healthy, satisfying food. So you can buy these 2 books, but because if you're also looking for fasting, you can buy these 2 books on Amazon, on print on demand, or in Kindle format. So nuts are cardioprotective. That means they protect your heart, reducing biomarkers, reducing cholesterol, triglycerides, and other fatty substances on the blood. So look at this research on walnut consumption. So they gave a handful of walnuts every day for 6 months for a lot of people, and they were supposed to gain 6 kilos. That means 14 pounds of fat or 15 pounds of fat, and for these 6 months. And actually, they just won 1 kilo. So the scientists suggest that the higher proportion of polyunsaturated fat for saturated fat that raises TID, DIT, diet-induced thermogenesis. But also nuts, because of the fiber, there's reduced absorption of the fats. Yes, you can poop 30% of the calories you eat if the food has its fiber intact. That means peanut butter or almond butter or walnut butter. Because of the food processing, you end up getting a lot more calories from it if the food is not processed. So always choose the whole food if you are looking to lose more weight. They suggested also maybe it's the incomplete mastication. You don't chew enough the fat, and that ends up more calories down the toilet. So another research, but now with almonds, they increased the amount of nuts for 2 handfuls, like 320 calories, in a follow-up for 6 months, and they only gained 400 grams of weight. What happened to the extra thousands and thousands of calories? So they quote also 2 studies on rats that actually the polyunsaturated fat induces less weight gain and higher consumption of oxygen. That means the body's oxidizing, is burning more fat, right? In obese human beings, the burn or oxidation of the postprandial fat, the fat that you have in your blood after you eat, is higher when the proportion of fat is more for the polyunsaturated fat from the saturated fat. That means the more plant fat you eat, the more healthy fat you eat from the flax seeds, from the walnuts, from the chia seeds, you end up burning more of that fat. Although you're eating more calories, the body's way more biochemistry than mathematics. Another study now with pecans. So they fed people 3 handfuls, that means 459 calories, for 8 weeks, for 2 months. That is 44 grams of fat per day. And people didn't gain even 50 grams of weight more. Not even 2 ounces of fat. 25,000 calories more and almost no weight gain. Even though fatty nuts and seeds are fatty foods, they reduce the cholesterol, they reduce the total cholesterol, enhances the good cholesterol, and it didn't make any weight gain whatsoever. And remember, people, we want a lower weight. That means less disease, more time in earth, more quality of life, not just lifespan, but health span as well. So take a look at this. Processed food in the same quantity makes you gain more weight. That means they fed people candy with peanuts and just peanuts alone, but they fed the same quantity of calories. With the group that was fed with peanuts, they managed to maintain their weight. The group that was fed the industrialized refined candy with peanuts, they end up gaining more weight. So it's not just about calories, it's about phytonutrients, about fiber, it's about macronutrient profile, it's about being whole food that deals with a lot of mechanisms, a lot of hormonal changes, biochemical changes, microbiota changes, epigenetic changes that induces your body to have a better energy homeostasis, a better energy control of what's being burned and what is going in. So take a look. The same quantity of calories from peanuts or candies. The group that ate the peanuts, there was no weight gain, but there was a lot of weight gain for the candies. They increased their weights, BMI, and weight circumference, showing that they were sicker. People who eat more nuts, like walnuts, they have a lower weight, lower BMI, lower weight circumference than people that eat more meat. So they only compared nut consumption to meat consumption. So not only nuts protected people from diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, and cardiovascular disease, but they also help to reduce the weight. So in this study, people who eat more nuts and vegetables had a lower circumference size, and people who eat more meats and animal products have a higher circumference. So another review showing that nutrients help in diets induce thermogenesis, diets inducing generation of heat to burn the excess calories, to burn the excess fat that we have, that, or also the resting metabolic rate. So what they suggest is that the flavonoids, the phytonutrients, the plant nutrients that are inside the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts and seeds can actually enhance thermogenesis, generating more heat and burning the excess calories and fat. So if you eat more plants, more phytonutrients, more fresh food, you burn more calories while you sleep, while you are working, while you are standing still. So why is that? Probably because of these nuts have lower capacity to be metabolized. So there's poor bioavailability, leading to inefficiency absorption of calories. And also the nut consumption is way more easy to be maintained the habits than other habits as well. That means it's easy for people to eat nuts and seeds. So also the scientists suggest that they should be included in diets with moderation for better palatability, for the diet tastes better, for better nutrient quality, for reducing the risk of diseases, and to also reduce your body weight. And I'm really highly in favor of nuts and seeds. After living in a raw food diet for 18 years, I have seen a lot of people nut phobic, nut and seed phobic, fatty food phobic. And for sure, we are made for a diet high in carbohydrates, but we shouldn't exclude fat. Maybe for a day. I have gone maybe even a month without any fatty foods whatsoever. But that is quite rare for me. It was back in the days, and there's no right or wrong, or you cannot eat fat. You should eat fat, but the right amount of fats, the right kind of fats, and in moderation. That means fruits and vegetables are always predominating in terms of volume and also in terms of calories, but there's always some small amount of calories coming from fat, from nuts and seeds, frequently in my diet at least. For sure, you need a nutritionist. I can help you out through a consultation, but I highly recommend you to don't skip your nuts and seeds. What other subjects would you want to view here? Do you want to know more about? Please comment below. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to help our work and help yourself, 2 of my 10 books are already translated and published in English on Amazon. And Hygienic Fasting Nature Surgery is actually available print on demand also. And Natural Delicacies, Cooking Without a Stove, it's on Kindle. So if you want my help, the link below for the website and for the WhatsApp contact, you can get a consultation, retreats, online courses, and read all the books. It's life-changing information for the most updated lifestyle information out there in the planet. So look at this position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. It's not just what you eat, but when you eat. It can be as important as for weight loss. Potentially, consuming more energy earlier in the day rather than late in the day can assist with weight management. The mechanism of action by which timing of eating might assist with weight management is by influencing the circadian rhythm, that the biological clock that we have in our brain and we have in our cells, the master clock and the peripheral clocks that we have in each organ and cell. Potentially, eating a greater amount early in the day may assist with synchronization of peripheral oscillators, with the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock, and the peripheral oscillators would be the peripheral clocks, assisting with maintenance of appropriate circadian rhythm. That means your body must be synchronized like a watch. Your body, your brain must be seeing the time of the day, understanding it, and metabolizing, working according to the time of the day of the sun around the earth. So your body must be doing metabolizing things and living and functioning during the day, but it also must be resting while at night. So look at this article. As the science is now suggesting, chrono disruption is a way to increase the propensity to the rate of chronic diseases and also to obesity. The science is actually going really precise on showing that if you don't synchronize your biological clocks with the Zeitgebers, the donators of time, the givers of time, a German word that suggests that the sun, for example, is a Zeitgeber. The time that you eat is a Zeitgeber. The social interactions, the temperature that usually goes down at night, they're all Zeitgebers. I have lectures on chronobiology in my channel in Portuguese, but it's still now, I don't think we have any available in English, but there will be. But what you have to understand is that if you see light at night, if you eat late in the day, all these things have an impact on your chronobiology, on your circadian rhythm. So also the amount of sleep has declined by 1.5 hours, 1 hour and a half in the last century. So we are sleeping less, more chrono disrupted, so that means a higher incidence, a higher probability of obesity. As the article suggests, shift work, sleep deprivation, and exposure to bright light at night increases the prevalence of adiposity, increases the fat in our cells, the fat in our bodies. Animal models have shown that mice with clock gene disruption are prone to developing obesity and metabolic syndrome. That means they cause chrono disruption in these mice, and they are more prone to diabetes, hypertension, obesity, etc. So look at this research. Phytonutrients, polyphenols, help thermogenesis and oxidation. They gave people, one group drank grape juice from actually grapes, and the other group drank grape juice industrialized, refined, the usual supermarket, like full of ingredients, grape juice. And one group lost weight, the other group gained weight. That means the fresh juice from fresh grapes have more phytonutrients and end up making people lose weight instead of gaining weight. Although a lot of people say, Eduardo, juices are really caloric dense, and I say, what? Are they really? They got the same amount of juice for both groups for 12 weeks. So we can take a look at this table that suggests that vegetables are the least caloric dense food in the planet, around 100 calories per 453 grams. Fruits are the second least dense caloric density food in the world, with around 250 calories per a pound. But you go for beans, for example, it's 350. Grains are 600. Eggs, 700. Fish, 800. Meat, around 200. And French fries and olive oil and other oils, around 3,900. And for French fries, 260,000. 2,600. So you have to choose to focus at least in the groups that have less caloric density. That means you're going to eat less, live more, and be healthier. Take a look at the example that we as hygienists have been suggesting monomeals for probably 200 years. What is a monomeal? It's like a chimpanzee animal would eat in nature, like any kind of animal eats in nature. Even the animals that are omnivores, like a bear, they are going to eat the honey right now, and they're going to eat fish a few hours afterwards, and they're going to eat berries a few hours afterwards. They're not going to find honey, carry to another tree, or carry to the next lake, pick up some fish and then carry to another tree, carry the fish and the honey to another tree, and then pick up some berries, mix the tree, make a sandwich, and eat it. So every creature in nature eats one food until it's satisfied. That is like the norm. And there's animals that are even the carnivores or the herbivores, like a panther or a tiger and a cow. They live on mono diets. That means they eat only one kind of food for their entire life. Animals always are eating, like carnivore animals are always eating meat. Cows and horses, they're always eating grass, always eating greens. So, you can take a look that hygienists suggest that mono meals would be the best because there's a lack of sensory stimuli. There's not that a lack of stimuli that leads to a lower ingestion of total food intake. That means the more we mix food, the more variety that we have, the more we eat. So satiation depends on blood sugar. So that's why your grandpa, your mom probably told you, don't eat the sweets before your meal because you're probably going to overeat. Don't eat the sweets before your meal because you're probably not going to eat the salty food. Because sweets, they satisfy our appetite. When we eat sweets, the blood sugar rises and that tells our brain we had enough food. Because if it was for whole food, to get the same amount of sugar you get in a pastry or in a dessert, you have to eat like 10 bananas or instead of 100 grams of a dessert. You have to eat way more food. So it actually, if you eat refined food, you end up tricking your brain, So also, satiation depends on stomach receptors of distension. When they get a lot of food inside the stomach, your stomach starts to swallow, starts to get bigger, starts to expand to the sides. And these receptors along the walls of the intestine, along the walls of the stomach, start to fire the brains like, I had enough. So that also triggers your satiety mechanisms. And also the quantity of nutrients. Yes, your cell depends on nutrients. So for example, a diabetic person, an obese person is going to tend to eat a lot more than its need because of an imbalance between hormones. What you have to realize that is refining food ends up concentrating abnormal quantity of calories inside your food. So 100 grams of raw potatoes is only 58 calories, but 100 grams of cooked potatoes is 78 calories. Why? Because you took the water out. Because the cooking process actually evaporates the water. And also there's 100 grams of French fries. It's 170 calories. Not just because you took the water out, but because you added oil. So you can take a look way better throughout this picture to understand what happens with these stomach distension receptors. 400 calories of oil, it doesn't fill up your stomach. 400 calories of chicken, it fills up a little bit of your stomach. But 400 calories of vegetables, you fill your stomach, but there's still a lot of calories to go in, so you can be inducing overweight. So take a look at what the World Health Organization suggests for its global strategy on diet, physical activity, and health. Limit the ingestion of a lot of calories of fat and refined sugar and salt. Change saturated fats for unsaturated fats. That means they complicate a lot. They're talking about kinds of fats instead of saying change animal fat for plant-based fats. Increase the intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and nuts. Practice more physical exercise, at least 150 minutes per week. So this would be the size of a regular salad for a raw vegan, for a person that wants to eat really good amounts of fruits and vegetables per day. So we eat a lot of fruits, but it's not a fruitarian diet. That means we're not eating only fruits. It must be a frugivore diet, a diet that comprises fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and even other kinds of foods like legumes, like chickpea or a lentil or a pea or even some kinds of fresh beans you can eat it raw with gusto. And also mushrooms. There's a lot of algae. There's a lot of other plant foods that you can ingest. But for sure, the majority of the calories, of the volume, of the frequency goes into fresh fruits and vegetables. And there's also the dried fruits. Why we should at least reduce the amount of these? Because they have taken a lot of the water out and they have lost some of the nutrients as well. And in the commercial varieties of these dried fruits, they usually use some preservatives, some colorant, some dyeing mechanisms, some like color to the apricots, for example. They use some preservatives and they can actually use sugar or syrups, or oil. So they're not 100% raw if you buy the usual varieties in the market. And what differentiates the fresh foods from the dried fruits and the dried nuts? The amount of fat and the amount of water. The foods that have less water are going to for sure have more calories. And the food that has more fats for sure will have even more calories. So I'm not suggesting you should avoid dried fruit or nuts, but I'm suggesting you limit the consumption. So take a look at this study suggesting that night shift workers leads to less hours of sleep, what increases your weight and induces diabetes. A wide range of biological processes are regulated by the circadian rhythms, including sleep-wake cycles, body temperature, energy metabolism, cell cycle, and hormone secretion. That means when we damage the circadian rhythm, we end up damaging a lot of the controlling mechanisms that are important for our weight and our health. So sleep deprivation, cutting down a few hours of sleep, end up causing imbalance in your hormones that induces higher appetite, higher hunger, and also weight gain. That means when you sleep less than you need, you end up changing ghrelin, the hunger hormone. So your hunger hormone is actually higher than it should be. You end up eating more than you need. And your satiety hormone, that it means leptin, is lower than what should be. So you end up feeling less satiated. And you end up with more cortisol, the stress hormone. So it leads you to binge eating or to choose foods that are more caloric dense. But take a look at this. They're showing that even phytonutrient in peppers, in hot peppers, the capsaicin, it actually is a thermogenic food that increases your energy expenditure and reduces body fat. So plant foods have all these phytochemicals that we're still unaware of, but it helps to fight obesity. So are obese people putting some red pepper, peppers in their food? No, they're eating hot sauce, industrialized pepper. You should use the fresh peppers. Not that I use a lot of peppers because, it's too strong. I prefer to focus on fruits and vegetables that also have other phytonutrients that help me to maintain a good weight. But still, I'm suggesting whole foods, and whatsoever. There's a lot of research, for example, showing even if you swim in cold water, you increase energy expenditure because of shivering thermogenesis, as the name suggests. There's also de novo lipogenesis. That means lipofat genesis, making new fats again. That means the process of turning sugars into fats is called de novo lipogenesis. That means when I overeat carbohydrates, I end up turning the excess of carbohydrates in fats. But we are inefficient in this process. Pigs are really efficient in turning carbohydrates into fats. That's why they feed them a lot of potatoes and they grow big. But human beings are not efficient in this process. So it's more probably you are eating more fat than excess carbs to become obese. Thermogenesis induced by water consumption. Take a look at this. Drinking 500 ml of water increased metabolic rate by 30%. So it's an important and unrecognized component of daily energy expenditure. So if you drink more water, you burn more calories. But why not to eat food that has water in it, like fruits and vegetables, you know? So one of the things that I highly recommend you is to use a BMI chart so you can understand if you're underweight, overweight, or eutrophic in a perfect weight. But BMI is not the best way to measure that, but it's the best that we have available in the world right now, and I will be doing videos about it, but the best weights I suggest is 21. I will show research from Luigi Fontana showing this is the BMI that is lower correlated, is more inverse correlated with diseases and death, morbidity and mortality from all causes, as we call in epidemiology. So the best way to measure excellent weights, you can see by this figure that like even though you have a bodybuilder that is like really strong, he can have a BMI from an obese person. So depending if you have a lot of muscle, you have a lot of bone, or if you have a lot of fat, the BMI can be misleading. But still, we can take a look also, it would be a better way to understand the perfect weight through body fat composition, right? So this table, it suggests a better understanding, a better measurement of ideal weight, right? So this would be a frugal raw pyramid. That means sweet fruits in the bottom of the pyramid. The higher amount of food would come from sweet fruits. The second higher amount would be from vegetables and fruit vegetables. That means broccoli, lettuce, cauliflower, tomatoes, bell peppers, zucchinis. And the last part and the smaller part would be nuts, seeds, fatty fruits, algae, legumes, or even sprouted grains, or even if the person wants to include some small amounts of animal products, that would be the pyramid. And to end, I love the quote from Herbert Shelton that I already did, and I'm going to do it again. When there's no will, there's overweight. So you have to study and be willing to make the changes, or else there's no, in this industrialized society that we can overeat, we can be sedentary, we can sleep late because of electric lights, we can have a lot of unhealthy behavior that is going to happen. So what you need to be aware of, it's calories are not everything. We have phytonutrients, proportion of macronutrients, and other metabolic factors playing a part. Exercises and moderation in food are not the solution for obesity, or else we all would be lean. You know that advice, so eat a little bit less and exercise a little bit more. We heard that, we've been there, done that, and probably didn't work. Raw foods are richer in water and fiber, therefore they have less calories. Vegetable foods, whole vegetable foods, are inversely correlated with overweight. Even really calorie foods like nuts. Not even all weight loss is healthy. Not even gain of weight is healthy. You can gain weight by being fat. You can lose weight by damaging your body. Sleep is more important than it looks like. So make sure you sleep early enough and also focus on a siesta, the 6 hour in Latin. You can search on Google. Obesity is a disease. The person cannot be with acute or chronic disease easily seen, but still she's sick on the inside. Body fat is by far the best parameter that we have to amount for a healthy weight, but the normal body fat or BMI parameters are not the best out there. So 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories. 1 gram of carbs or protein has 4 calories. So every time the carbohydrate foods will have less calorie than fatty foods. So these whole foods have appetite suppressing effects and have calorie flushing effects. You must understand that they suppress your appetite and make a lot of the calories, makes them go down the toilet. So to end, what I want from you is, remember, if you want to help our channel to grow, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bells for notifications, hit the like button, comment below, and share this video with everybody. The more you interact, the more YouTube understands that our channel is good and wants to show more to you and to other people. So please help our channel to grow, help this information to arrive to billions of people. It's free, just interact with the channel. And also, if you want my help, I can help you out through a consultation as a clinical nutritionist. You don't have to come to Brazil, we can do it online. And also there are 10 books published, but 2 already translated to English. There is also 6 online courses, but they're still in Portuguese, and retreats every January, February, and July. So if you want my help with your health, you can just click the link below for our website or for WhatsApp, and you can get in contact with me so I can find you the best way to help you out. And don't forget to click these videos to know more.